On today's episode, we'll talk about how to shoot a riot, starting out as a failed sound man, 12 Years a Slave, Marvels, Hunger, and of course, creating an international incident with a Nigerian king. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to The Op, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm Dave Comides, your host, and we are here yet again from Panavision Woodland Hills in the theater because it sounds great. And usually I say it sounds better than something, but I didn't have anything on my mind, so I'm not saying that today. I'm really excited because I have an amazing cinematographer, an amazing operator, an amazing friend, Sean Bobbitt, who has done a couple of things, and we've worked together a couple of times, and hopefully we'll work together a couple of times more, hint, hint. A couple of things that he's worked on: Judas and the Black Messiah, Widows, On Chesil Beach, Old Boy, 12 Years a Slave, The Place Behind the Pines, Shame, Hunger, Wonderland, only a couple of decent things in there. He's been nominated for BSC and ASC awards for 12 Years a Slave and Judas and the Black Messiah, also for Academy Awards and BAFTA awards for those same films, and overall has won 7 awards and 39 nominations for his cinematography. Not a bad run.
I had no idea.
I'll write these down for you afterwards. Oh, I should also say you won a British Independent Film Award for cinematography for Hunger, which I think is exceptionally well deserved. And hopefully, we're going to talk about that. Thanks for being here.
Well, it's a great pleasure.
This is really cool because Sean lives in England and is very hard to get hold of digitally, and happened to say he was here, and I said, get thee to Panavision. So
I'm very happy to do it.
This is a pleasure, and it's great because we haven't seen each other for 4 years.
At least 4 years.
Do you remember the last time we saw each other?
No.
When was
that?
The last time we saw each other was The Harder They Fall. And
oh my God!
The last time we saw each other was The Harder They Fall. I'll tell you very specifically because I had 2 days of rehearsal. You obviously had much more in New Mexico, and we had rehearsed that big opening shot and some other things. And there was this cough that was going around that everybody was getting worried about, and we were sort of wondering. And actually, I remember you said, when we're done here, let's head back to town and come back to my office, and we'll go through the script and we'll talk about, and boards and specific shots and whatever. And I said, great. And then we all got an email that said everybody needs to come to the Netflix office, and there's a special announcement or something like that. And then I think you and I kind of both knew what it was, and so it was like another hour or two. And so we went back to your office and we sat down, and I remember you looking at me and going, well, I don't think there's much point in going through the script. And we just sort of sat there and talked, and then went into Netflix, and they said, oddly, that they were going to shut down for 2 weeks. Yeah. And I remember looking over and you and I sharing a glance, and then you took the whole camera crew aside afterwards by the truck and said, look, this isn't 2 weeks. Don't leave anything on the truck. This is a long haul. And that was the last time I saw you that long ago. It was a while ago. A little bit's going on between now and then. So segueing, I'm going to start with my normal first question. What's your story? How'd you get to be a big time cinematographer doing all these amazing movies?
Well, actually, it's all a mistake, and has been a series of bad choices.
Okay.
Over time, which has ended up. Because originally I wanted to be a writer-director, and was more interested actually in television, live multi-camera television. I found very exciting.
Yeah.
And I thought that was going to be the
This
way
is like
for
in
me.
college, or is it
This was
kid or?
at university. I was in university in California, at the University of Santa Clara, and was studying literature and philosophy, and got waylaid by the theater arts people.
Aha.
Because it was a very strange time, because I grew up mostly in England. I came to California to go to university, and I was basically a punk. And at the University of Santa Clara in California,
can't
there
see
were
you as a
no
punk.
punks.
You mean like a punk, like a hooligan punk?
No, it was more of a proto-punk.
Oh, okay. All right.
English punk style.
Okay, all
You know,
right.
strange clothes, funny haircut, earrings.
So you didn't fit in with the surfers?
Well, no, see, it wasn't even surfers, because it was all pre-law and pre-med.
Ah.
I didn't fit in at all.
Okay. All right.
But the theatre arts people took pity on me and sort of brought me in. And the theatre is an amazing place. And for the first time, it was like, I feel very comfortable here. Mm-hmm. When I was young, I was very shy and I was very bookish and I read a lot. And I love stories and just wanted something to do with stories. And this theatre world it's all about stories.
That's cool.
And I drifted into the lighting department, actually, because that's where they needed people, and started working on productions and doing lighting, and actually took a couple of theatre courses. I took Acting 101, which I failed, and I took Lighting for Theatre, which I also failed. And thought, well, maybe the theatre life isn't quite for me. But all of the theatre people were saying, you have to do Intro to Television, because the teacher, this wonderful man, Father John Prevet, Jesuit priest, is insane. He is completely bonkers and brilliant. And I did Intro to Television, and it was true. He was the best teacher I've ever come across in my life.
Wow.
Absolutely inspirational. Changed my life completely.
But was he bonkers?
He was totally bonkers, still is.
Okay.
In the most wonderful way.
Oh, that's great.
And through him, I changed my degree to television producing and directing.
Wow.
Forget all this namby-pamby literature and philosophy and all the angst-ridden stuff.
This was early 70s? When,
this was sort of mid-70s.
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 Okay. All right.
And it turns out, it's Father John was an amazing man. He was running a 3-color camera studio with sound mixing, edit suites, the whole works. And the university didn't know he was doing it.
What?
He had kind of just snuck it all in up onto the second floor of this building.
That's so great.
And it was wonderful, because there were only 3 of us at the time who were doing it full time.
Yeah.
So we had absolute access to everything.
That's incredible.
And so it was the most remarkable introduction, and really exciting, because it was something I'd never imagined, and really didn't think that I would ever be involved with it.
So was this guy self-taught then, if he was a priest?
Well, he was a Jesuit.
I know, sure, but
now there's kind of a difference.
But I mean, did he come out of the business or?
Well, I was never quite sure.
Okay.
He knew all the answers.
That's amazing.
And there was another priest there, Father Tom Shanks, who was from the business.
Okay.
And between the two of them,
wow,
they were incredibly knowledgeable and inspirational.
That's great.
So, and as part of it, in my final year, I was the head teaching assistant, so I ran the studio. And as part of that, I directed all the programs. The idea was that the studio was supposed to do public service television, and to help pay for itself.
Sure.
So I did, the one I remember was called Conversations in Human Understanding, which was just brilliant. I mean, 3-camera shoot, 2 people, talk show thing, and I would live mix it myself, and then go back and edit it and this, that, and the other. And it went out on local.
You don't have any of this somewhere
no.
sitting. Darn it.
But I also, I had to work my way through university, and after being held at knife point in a sandwich shop, decided I should probably be doing something else. So I actually found some work as a freelance cameraman.
Oh, you mean you're working in the sandwich shop?
I was working in a sandwich shop, yeah.
Okay.
Not knifing people at the sandwich shop.
No, I didn't think that. I thought maybe you swore off sandwiches after that or something like that. So you decided you should do what?
I freelance as a cameraman in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And I made some contacts. So I did some jobs as a cameraman. You know, never thinking that being a cameraman would I mean, it was simply
Money.
economic necessity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just sort of left it at that because I was going to be a director and a writer still in my head.
Yeah.
And when I finished there, it's kind of sorry to say, but I got really bored of California.
Okay.
And because having grown up overseas the whole of my life, I felt very isolated in California because all people not to be rude to all you people in California, but particularly in those days, all you ever talked about was California. And also, you know, your relationships and how much money you were or weren't making. And I found none of that actually very interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went back to England, where my family were and everything, and sort of kicked around thinking, you know, I've got all this experience. I've done some live multi-camera, you know, like I say, directing and camera work and sound and editing and, you know, all the basics. And in that sort of that wonderful arrogance of youth, I went straight to the BBC and got a meeting with them, and they were the most lovely people, very pleasant. They smiled a lot. Mm-hmm. I now realize that they were sort of smiling, thinking, who's this idiot? Because I was 21, and I was telling them that I wanted to be a live multi-camera studio director.
Sure, because they needed a 21 live studio
doesn't
director.
Everyone? Exactly. But they were awfully pleasant. At the end of the interview, they said, you know, thank you very much for coming along. We appreciate you know, spending the time, and but we just have to tell you this: that the average age of a live multi-camera studio or a multi-camera studio director at the BBC is about 45. They said we could probably get you a trainee job somewhere.
There you go.
And I said, well, thank you very much, but you know, I shall carry on, and went to other places, and basically. Ended up sleeping on floors and carpets and being completely and totally broke.
Yep.
And shot some really, really cool and fun, cheap pop videos, which was great fun, and you know, made some great friends. But I was, you know, desperate for work.
Yeah.
And looking through anyone who's listened to the Roger Deakins podcast. Knows the story, so I'll just sort of blast through it. Yeah. But you know, I came across a group of mad war cameramen starting a company called Television News Team, and the guy in charge, Rolly Coster, was suitably, wonderfully mad and bonkers as well. And they were just starting up to introduce video into news, because in those days people were still shooting Super 16.
Wow. Yeah.
And I thought, well, these guys are really interesting. And, you know, I had a wonderful day with them. And at the end of the day said, well, it was a real pleasure meeting you, but we have no work for you. And that was it. So I left.
Oh, boy.
But luckily, a couple of days later, they phoned me up and they said, can you do sound? And I said, yes.
And could you?
Kind of.
Okay.
Just enough.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they said, okay, tomorrow be at such and such a place, and you'll meet a cameraman called Nigel Wheeler, and he'll show you what to do.
Yeah.
And that was it. I was suddenly a sound man, freelance sound man, working for the American networks in London.
I love it.
And it was a sort of baptism of fire, and I survived for about a year.
Okay.
And after the end of the year, and I started working mainly with CBS, who I don't know why, but they kept calling me back in, which was very pleasant, very helpful of them. But after a year and an international incident, which I caused during an OPEC meeting, where I wrapped the umbilical cable from the camera to the recorder around the neck of a Nigerian king. And the cameraman was being pulled one way and I was being pulled the other, and the guy was strangling in the middle. And
This was frowned upon.
well, they made an official complaint, and
Understandably so.
yeah.
That seems like that's one of those.
And so I had a meeting at CBS, and we all agreed. It was very amicable. We agreed I was probably the worst soundman in Europe, quite potentially the world, and that I should probably be doing something else.
For the health, at least, of the kings around the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and I remember I wasn't too cut up about it either. It was like, oh, that's fair enough. Yeah, I'm not very good at this.
Yeah.
But at the time I said to them, look, I can shoot.
Yeah.
And they went,
As long as someone else handles the cable.
and I sort of disappeared and did other things. Luckily, that brief period I was a soundman, I did actually make good money for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of a buffer. And fortunately for me, unfortunately for a lot of people, the Falklands War broke out.
Yeah.
And suddenly there weren't enough cameramen in London.
Because they all shipped out to
Well, no,
go.
there were only 2 shipped out.
Oh,
One from the BBC and one from ITV.
okay.
But, it was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And they didn't have enough cameramen to cover it because you had 24-hour coverage in London.
Okay,
And you
gotcha.
had several locations.
So they needed a lot of people. Yeah.
They
yeah.
needed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate. They phoned me, tracked me down. I was actually working in Australia at the time. And said, would you come back? I very nearly said no, because Channel 9 in Perth had offered me a job.
Oh,
And in the end, I said, I'll go back.
yeah.
So I came back and started working as a cameraman.
Yeah.
And had no intention. In my mind, I'm still going to be a writer-director.
Yeah.
This is all just good
This is
stuff.
just getting, yeah.
It's
It's fill in the
getting-
middle.
Yeah, I'm going to find stories here and everything else.
And when you say you were shooting, mostly talking heads news stuff, or
Well, just general news. Network news. So
like,
it started off. Actually, it was the biggest boondoggle ever, because CBS had me outside number 10 Downing Street
just where
for
the
the
prime
whole day,
minister is,
which is where the
Yeah.
prime minister is, and periodically they'd come out and give a statement.
Oh, okay.
When I finished,
So you're just basically waiting there in
we're
case
just
a
waiting.
statement
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, we're just staking it out.
That's great.
In this little pen.
Yeah. But when they come out, I'm sure it was a really good close-up that you had.
Well, my level of incompetence was still quite stunning. And I was very lucky. They paired me with a soundman, Nick Follows, whose job before that was as a forklift truck driver in a carpet factory. So the two of us were perfectly suited in our inexperience. I could give him enough information about sound
Yeah.
to keep things going.
Okay.
And luckily he's a lot smarter than me and figured it out a lot more quickly.
And just
than
out of
I had.
curiosity, he got the job for the same way that you did. There just weren't enough people, and
Yeah.
they were taking anybody.
Yeah. He was a friend of a sound man
Yeah,
who worked
yeah.
at CBS, and
said,
they were desperate.
You
and
can
they said,
figure this out. Come in and do it. Okay.
And they handed us all this gear. And it was like, just madness. 2 young kids.
That's great.
And Nick, is still my best friend. We worked together in the field for a lot of years.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard you mention him several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so we started off on our journey.
Yeah.
And, the thing about news, being a news cameraman, is that it's fantastic training with very low expectation.
Fantastic training on what sense?
On a camera, on how to operate a camera, how to focus a camera,
Yeah.
exposure.
Because there's no take two, basically.
There's
Because
no
you
take
have to.
two. You got to get it right.
Yeah.
But so long as you get home alive, if you have usable shots, that's a bonus. So they're very forgiving of a lot of our initial mistakes.
Yeah. Okay.
But it also, when I was young, I had lots of friends who were really, really good photographers.
Yeah.
I was a shit photographer. I was an awful photographer. Nick Follows is a brilliant stills photographer.
Really?
I am a shit still photographer. Always have been. Never really gotten beyond that. But there is something that changed when movement was put into the frame.
Gotcha.
And it also the introduction of story. What I missed in stills photography is that I didn't know that you were trying to distill this huge story down into one frame.
One frame, I see.
I was just looking for frames.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of what I shot as a stills photographer was architectural buildings. And I was just looking at shapes and forms, and just
and it gets boring.
Informs a lot of stuff in the future as well. And finding these compositions that I didn't truly understand. And my friends would look at it and go, God, this is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
But there was something inside me that I found pleasurable in taking those photographs. And, you know, technically I knew how to print, and we developed and did all that sort of stuff. So I had a background in basic photography, which is really helpful. Hint one to anyone who wants to be a cinematographer or an operator even, do photography.
I tell people this all the time.
Absolutely. This is where you learn the basic skills.
Yeah.
And the thing is, now on a digital camera, it costs you nothing.
Exactly.
And you get immediate feedback.
Yep.
Because not only do you have to practice, you have to look at what you've practiced and be incredibly critical about what you've shot.
Yeah.
And to try and move forward.
No, it's and the thing is, I mean, everybody has a phone now that takes pictures. It takes amazing pictures. So, you know, I mean, if that's all you have, that's enough. So it's incredible. Yeah.
And so you also, you know, and I would say move beyond the phone, because you need to learn about lenses.
Sure.
And what lenses do and how lenses work.
Absolutely.
And exposure. You know, once...
Shoot film,
exactly.
There's no question.
No, that's what I did. And, you know, the costs as well gives you an aesthetic.
Yep.
Where you know that you have to make all these decisions. You can't just simply keep pressing the button.
Absolutely.
Because you can't afford to.
Yep.
So it's a discipline that's really important. And that's what started to tie in to the news. The other thing is, you know, story to me is absolutely everything. That's what I've grown up wanting, is story. News is fantastic because you have to take an extremely complicated non-visual story, usually, and find a series of shots that can cut together to tell that story in 30 seconds.
So you're thinking like an editor on the fly then? I mean, you're being taught how to do that. Yeah.
And, you know, I was very fortunate. I was surrounded by very good cameramen.
Yeah.
And all of them came out of film as well. They shot Super 16. Now, Super 16, you've got, you know, a small roll of film in the camera.
Yeah.
If you shoot more than 2 rolls, the editor and the producers are going to shout at you.
So you have to be judicious.
You have to be judicious.
Yep.
You have to think about what the story is, what the shots might be needed, and if you can, shoot them in the order that you think.
Oh, interesting.
So that you are editing in camera.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that teaches you about the discipline. It teaches you to think of sequence, to create sequences, and to start looking ahead for sequences.
Interesting.
And also, you know, as you're shooting a story as it's happening in front of you, it will change.
Sure.
So you're constantly assessing what you've shot. It's changed now. What do I need to shoot to show that change, to replace what I've shot before?
Yeah.
So it became for me this wonderful intellectual exercise. It was, you know, in a breaking event, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Because you're choosing where you stand. You know, you're not affecting the light, but you have to know about light. And so you are moving your position in relation to not only the story, but hopefully the light as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned an invaluable lesson one night in Lebanon during the Siege of Beirut, 1982. The car bomb went off outside, just below my hotel room.
I love how you nonchalantly say these crazy things. Go ahead.
Well, it gets better.
No, I know, but just like most people, that would be the end of the story.
It's only the beginning.
Yeah, I know.
The car bombs are only the beginning of the story. But anyway, I slept through it. And I was covered in glass in my bed because all the windows were blown in.
Oh, jeez.
And they had to knock the door down because they thought I was dead.
Because you were asleep and not waking up.
I was sleeping and not waking up. And they woke me up. And I sort of like, what's going on? They said, car bomb. And I was like, no shit. So we had to dash downstairs, you know, throw some clothes on, grab the equipment, run downstairs. And of course, we were the last people there. And I had forgotten my light.
Okay.
Because usually I have a camera light. It was still nighttime. So I was sitting there watching it. And all these lights were coming on at different angles. And I was kind of obsessed by the beauty of this backlit carnage.
With smoke going off
With
and
smoke
everything.
going
Yeah, sure.
off and all this stuff going on.
Wow.
And it's all silhouetted or side lit. So I would position myself and wait for someone else's light to come on and film. And it was just the most incredibly satisfying thing to do.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, if you don't need a light, don't turn the light on.
Don't turn the light on. Yeah.
Find the light that's there. Utilize the lights that's there.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, I thought it was just the most beautiful stuff. It went to the editor and he said, "What's this shit? I can't see anything." And so I got in trouble. But still,
Yeah.
that forever stuck with me. And, you know, because you're doing news, you're in a different country all the time, doing different things and seeing different things in different lighting settings.
Yeah.
You know, all the way from, you know, the high north Scandinavia light to the hard light of the equator, you know, to the deserts of the Middle East. You slowly start to learn about what light is and available light,
Yeah.
and how to move yourself within a scene to maximize the beauty of the available light and to do it in real time,
And,
whilst imagining what the shots are going to be and what the story is. And so, the best training ground ever.
Well, it's funny because I listened to all this and it's like, making a movie must be really simple.
I tell you, there's a script.
There's a script. You can do a take two. You can move
Exactly.
a light.
You know,
nobody's trying to blow you up.
Which is why when I first started doing movies, everyone was saying, "God, he's so calm." And it's like, well, no one's shooting at us.
Well, that's what you've said this to me on set before. I have to say that there was one point on Widows, I think, where we were talking about your early career, and I said you must learn all sorts of bizarre things having lived the life that you lived, and you said, yeah. And I said, like, give me an example. And I remember you didn't even stop eating, and you said, well, like, you know, I mean, when there's a riot, you make sure that you're upwind from the tear gas. And you said it as if someone was like, well, you know, when you make a right turn, you put your blinker on and you make the right turn. And I thought, that's not normal.
Well, you do enough riots.
Yeah,
You get
of
tear
course.
gassed once.
You get tear. That's
all you need.
Actually, I think that's what you said at that point. You said you get tear gassed once, and then you know where to stand.
Yeah.
It made perfect sense.
But there are, you know, the other fascinating thing is that, you know, we think everything is unique, but as human beings, we tend to do things the same way,
Yes.
no matter our race or our culture. And the best example I have of that is riots. They always follow exactly the same rhythm and pace and structure. And once you know that, you can be in the right places at the right time to not get beaten up by the police, tear gassed, or trampled by the crowds,
And still get your shot.
and still get your shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and after a while, you do enough of them and they get boring because you know what's going to happen. And it's like, oh God, here we go again. And then the wind changes direction. You do get tear gassed.
You do get tear gassed.
And it's like, oh, fucking hell.
And now you're getting an app for your phone to figure out which way the wind is going.
So I was very, very fortunate. But the whole time I was working as a news cameraman, to me, it was like, this is a prelude. This is just what I'm doing. First off, because I'd always, as a child, desired a life of adventure and never imagined. I mean, because I went off literature philosophy, that's not going to be adventure.
No.
So this was all very unexpected. And at the age of 23, to go to my first war zone and survive it.
What war
Well, that
zone?
was the invasion of Lebanon, siege of Beirut
Wow.
in 1982.
Was that when you got almost abducted and thrown in the car and got away?
There
Was
were
that a
many
different
things
one?
that happened over the years. I was
Yeah.
in and out of Lebanon for about 3 years.
Amazing.
And
So let me ask you a question. Do you think you had cognizance of what you were learning at the time, or do you just think that now looking back you realize what you were learning?
it's only in retrospect.
Yeah.
At the time, I just wanted to be a good cameraman.
You just wanted to do your job well. Yeah.
Yeah. And survive.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But actually, survive was secondary.
As long as you get the good shots.
You're immortal.
Well, I was going to say it's not even secondary. You probably don't think about it. You just go, well, of course I'm going to survive.
And
'cause-
once you do start to think about it, well, and once your friends start dying, and you've seen a lot of people die,
Yeah.
It's sort of like, okay, this isn't a game.
Yeah.
This is deadly serious.
Yeah.
And how long do you want to do this? And how long do you think you can do this and survive?
And because once you start thinking about it, you start probably doing things differently. And
Well, not really.
No?
But once you start thinking about it, you just got to stop.
yeah, or well, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, that as opposed to, because, you know, you have to be stupid enough to go beyond.
There's a reason why they get 18-year-olds to be in the Army, right?
Yeah.
They don't get 40 and
But
50
it
year olds.
also, there's a very slippery slope because you become an adrenaline addict. And that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, in between tours of various places, when I got home, you know, I just didn't know what to do with myself.
Because there wasn't enough going on.
There wasn't enough going
Yeah.
on, and it was really boring, and these people knew nothing. And so, you know, fast motorcycles, airplanes, learning
interesting.
all of the,
Yeah.
you know, adrenaline junkie stuff,
Yeah.
off-piste skiing, you know, all of those things, trying to get back into that
feeling.
remarkable
Yeah.
state.
Well, and it's a drug. I mean, literally.
It is a
Yeah,
drug,
Yeah.
and there's a heightened level of awareness that comes with it as well,
Interesting.
which you can't really replicate in any other way.
Yeah.
But that is also killing you
Sure.
bit by bit.
Yep.
So, you know, it reaches a point, and I didn't always say, but I started to say to myself, once I stop crying at the horrors in front of me, it's time to stop.
Was that something someone had told you, or something
That
you
was
realized?
something that I realized to myself.
That's an incredible amount of awareness at that age.
Well, you age very quickly
Yeah.
in those circumstances.
Sure.
And like I say, when friends around you are being injured and killed, you know, there is a level of maturity, oddly,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
goes with the sort of mad immaturity of,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
your daily
Yeah.
profession.
You told me a story once that I loved about your sound guy. What's his name again? I forgot.
Nick.
Nick. I knew it was an N. I couldn't think of it. About him with it was either Margaret Thatcher or it was the Queen
It was Margaret Thatcher.
getting upset at him about pushing someone out of the way. Can you just tell me that? Because I love
Well,
that story.
in the very early days of Margaret Thatcher, I mean, yes, we did war zones, but we also did politics.
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, that's what you do as part of news. And it was the very early days of Margaret Thatcher, her first campaign. And we were at the South Mim Services, which had just opened around the M25. And she was opening the services. And it was quite a big crowd of people there. And Nick and I had developed a way of getting through crowds.
Yeah.
Nick's 6'3". He's a very large chap, and he would literally just lift people up and pull them out of my way. And so
Because you're backing up in front of someone who's walking.
Usually, I'm trying to position myself so that they're coming towards me.
Yeah.
So the crowd is moving back.
Sure.
And we're then scything through it.
Yep.
With their backs to us.
Yeah.
So we get them on the blind side.
I got you. Yeah.
And so we
Okay.
get in, and as they were coming towards us, and Nick is moving people out of the way. You know, Maggie was watching him, and when we got to the front, she said, "Young man, what is your name?" And he was like, tugging his forelock, "Nick, ma'am." He said, "Nick, these people have all come here, you know, to see me. They have an absolute right to be here. Please resist from manhandling them any further." And it was like, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am." And she walked off. She was in power for, God knows, almost 14 years, maybe
time.
longer.
Yeah.
Towards the end of her time, we were at another very similar sort of thing, a crowd of people around Margaret Thatcher. We were still using our same old technique.
Yeah.
We got to the front, and she turned to him, and must be 10 years later, maybe 10 years later. She said, "Nick, I have told you once before." And he was just like, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am."
I love that story.
Just a remarkable memory.
That's fantastic all the way around.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. So how'd you eventually get from that into narrative?
Well, I went into documentaries.
Okay.
I had enough of news.
Yeah.
It was time to leave.
Yeah.
So I started doing documentaries But of course, the only documentaries I did primarily were in war zones.
We're in
again.
war zones, right?
So-
Did you tell me about being like embedded with the Tamil Tigers for a
Not the
month?
Tamil Tigers in the Philippines.
In the Philippines.
Oh well, actually, that was a news job.
Oh,
We embedded with lots of different people
God.
at different times.
Jeez.
But no, not the Tamil Tigers.
Yeah.
We were with the what were they called? In the Philippines, the communist guerrillas
okay.
were the new something army in something A, and we went into the jungles of East Samar with them for a little while.
But and
Which
when
was-
you go into something like that, I mean, like you said, you don't know what the story is yet. You just go and you find it.
Well, we knew that. Well, this was during the Philippines Revolution.
Yeah.
So the Filipino army were still fighting the communist insurgent guerrillas that were on several of the islands. So a contact in the bureau had a contact with them. We were going in just to film them training and maneuvers and everything else.
Yeah.
As a part of a much larger report about what was going on in the
Gotcha.
Philippines.
Yeah.
And we were being brought in by boat up a river, and Nick and myself had made a dreadful mistake, and instead of bringing our water canteens, we had brought our vodka and orange canteens, which in the heat of the Philippines, it was not good.
No.
And the boat we were in we were with a group of nuns as well,
Oh, jeez.
and coming round in through some rapids, the engine broke down, and Nick just turned to me with this crazy look in his eyes and said, "If they start singing Michael Roy, you by the shore, I'm going to kill someone." And sure enough, a nun pulled out a guitar and started singing Michael Roy,
Oh,
you by the
that's
shore.
fantastic.
And I had to leap on his back and struggle him down.
Hold him down.
But as we came around the corner of the river was the set of Apocalypse Now.
Oh my gosh.
So there was still the parachutes in the trees.
Wait, but they were filming at that time? You
No,
said? No,
they just left it.
Yeah, they just left
This
it.
is,
Okay,
they
gotcha.
filmed it.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
a couple
Wow.
of several years before.
And you recognized it as such?
It can't be anything else.
Can't be anything else.
It's the tail of a B-52 and
That's
all these
wild.
bamboo things and everything.
Oh, my
It was
gosh.
just surreal. Everything about the Philippines
yeah,
is
yeah.
surreal.
Yeah.
But
I actually have a
aside.
specific question. When you're doing something like that, how do you? This was video by then.
Yes.
How do you charge your batteries and stuff like that?
Well, you just take a lot of batteries with you.
And hope that you can find generators or something
No,
to charge?
No, you are very fastidious as to what you do.
So you're keeping the camera off quite a bit. Yes, I got you. Yeah.
Almost all the time.
Wow.
And in fact, I'm not sure that we shot a single frame in the whole of that trip.
Wow.
Because when we arrived with the guerrillas, basically the army was chasing them the whole time, and so we would have to hide all day long, and then run all night through the jungle,
Oh, jeez.
and then hide and run. It was quite insane. I think we shot some little stuff.
And it's just the two of you, right?
Well,
Or is
quite
there-
often it's just the two of us. Sometimes we're with a
reporter,
correspondent,
A correspondent. Yeah. Okay.
and sometimes
Right.
just a producer.
Gotcha.
But a lot of the times, particularly in the bang bang stuff,
Yeah.
it would just be the two of us, and we'd have a fixer of some sort as well, translator,
yeah.
someone to look after us.
Wild.
And we would just go off and do.
Yeah.
No, that was the stories. There are many stories.
Oh, I'm
associated
sure. I'm
with
sure.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're sort of digressing.
No,
here.
I know, but it's still fascinating. But so you went to documentaries, and then at some point you stumbled into narrative.
Well, I went into documentaries, and again for about 9 or 10 years of documentaries, and
Really? Oh.
I loved the documentary format.
Most of this was for TV, though. I mean,
It was all TV.
Yeah, I mean, in other words, not feature length or feature documentaries in the
I
theater.
had at that time no. It's still in my head. I'm going to be a writer.
You're going to be writer director. Sure, I know.
I'm
of
not a
course.
cinematographer. I'm a cameraman.
I'm assuming you're still thinking of that right now. I just assumed, but this is just a way station. Yeah.
Well, it's in everything. It's like,
Hopefully.
but documentaries, longer format,
Yeah.
bigger, more complex sequences.
So like one hour documentaries.
1
and stuff
hour
like that.
or a complete 6 1 hours.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And you actually had lights.
Yeah.
And so I started to light.
Okay.
And it got quite ridiculous in the end, because most people would travel with 3 lights, By the end, I was traveling with 11. And everyone thought, you idiot.
And these are big lights, too. They're not LEDs
no, these are
like
all small
now.
lights.
Oh, well, but even so, they're bigger than they are now. Yeah,
absolutely. There are redheads and mini redheads, and the first ever reefer lights, and all sorts of stuff. But all the time on every job I did, I always said to myself, try something new.
Oh, I got you.
So I would use new filters. I would use, most people in the documentary world at that time didn't even know what a matte box was.
They just turn the camera on and shoot.
You just threw the camera on and did this thing. So I became fascinated also with color temperature theory.
Wow.
And was reading a lot just about the techniques.
Yeah.
Composition, lighting, all those good things.
Sure.
Because I could do them now.
Yeah.
There was the space and the time, and we did some amazing documentaries. I mean, one on Watergate, which is sort of the definitive.
Is it available? Is it available?
It's still around. Yeah.
What's it called?
Watergate.
Oh, it's called Watergate. All right.
And that was a BBC.
Okay.
That was 6 hours.
I'll have to check it out. I'll definitely link to it.
We spoke to everybody who was still alive.
Wow.
It was fantastic. And the sound man I was working with then, Andy Cottam, actually knew more about lighting than I did. So he was sort of... But I learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
And I also started to learn about mixing color temperatures.
Uh-huh.
Because in the real world, color temperatures are mixing all the time.
Of course.
And what tended to happen, and does happen a lot in news and documentaries these days, well, less so now, but it used to be that everyone would white balance. And once you white balance, you take out what is unique in terms of the mix of color. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why I became fascinated with color temperature, because I turned the white balance off, and started to teach myself the different colors of light, and how I can manipulate them. Yeah, and so started to create depth, particularly in interviews with color. Yeah. And the use of practicals. And I think it got completely out of hand in the Watergate series. At one point, I think I had 11 practicals in an interview shot. And even Andy said, Sean, I think that might be a bit too many.
We're going to pull some of these out.
Exactly. But again, the whole time I'm learning, and that's one thing that I'll say to any student, is you must keep learning. Yeah. Do anything, but keep learning. Because it is a craft and it is a skill. Yep. No one is born an operator. Yeah. No one's born a cinematographer. These are things that you learn over time. You can read about them in a book, but you have to experience them. Absolutely. And these things need to become second nature to you, so that when you're presented with a story and start to delve into the emotion of the story, all of that knowledge that you have is immediately synthesized into shots. Yep. And into cool shots, interesting shots, but more importantly, shots that tell the story. Absolutely. That's the bumper sticker right there. Yeah. 100%. Anyone can showboat. Yep. And a showboat doesn't tell a story. Well, we've talked a lot on the podcast. I don't know how many will be out that we have by the time this comes out, but about sometimes you're doing something and you go, I think this is becoming about the shot. Yeah. It's not about the story anymore. And I think I've told you before, the guy who taught me, Bob Crone, said the irony of what we do is if we do it well, nobody knows we did it. And it's if they're looking at the shot, you've done something wrong. You know? And hopefully maybe as a vignette afterwards, you show it to someone and someone says, another operator says, that's a really cool shot. Yeah. But hopefully those watching... are the only people who should see it. Yeah, watching the movie, you should never even think about it. No, when I was, younger and more easily upset, which I don't think I ever have been really, but it used to annoy me when people would see a film and at the premiere and go, the first thing they would say is, "Oh my God, it was beautifully shot," and it's like, "Oh God, I failed again," because it's it should be, I'm
it moved me,
or I hate it. Yeah, I would rather have some strong emotional. It evoked reaction. An emotion. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. Yep. But just sort of that empty platitude, oh, it's beautifully shot. It's like, of course. Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, the next time I see one of your movies, I'm going to call you up and go, I hated that movie. I hated it.
I look forward to
I
that.
hated your work. I hated
most-
the acting.
Yeah, the most interesting discussions I've ever have been based on that.
Because then it's
know,
why or what?
Well, no, because everyone has a valid point of view.
Yeah.
I can remember at Camera Maj, actually, after we showed 12 Years a Slave, there was one guy in the audience at the press conference afterwards who really didn't like it, and the whole audience was booing him down. And I'm like, wait a minute.
You mean he said this in a question and answer form or
Yeah,
something? So
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
They were booing him down.
the audience were booing him down.
Wow.
Because he was saying, it's like, this is slavery porn and this, that, and the other. And it's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute. You don't boo him down.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
He's got a valid thing. And we chatted, and I said, well, I disagree with you on these grounds.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I bumped into him outside, and we had a further discussion.
That's great.
And it was great
Yeah.
because he had a perspective.
Well,
he
and
was wrong.
No, but he had
Yeah.
a different perspective than you. Because the thing, on a totally different level, what I look at with those things is, if I sit and talk to 12 people who think exactly what I think, that's wonderful and whatever, but I'm probably not going to get much from it. But if I talk to someone who has a completely different, it's like when I pitch a shot. If they have a completely different viewpoint from me, then I'm either going to come away with that having changed my mind, or I'm going to come away from that being even more emboldened to believe that where I'm going, because it's challenged
Exactly.
me to go, why do I like this, or why does it work, or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think, but that's the harder conversation to have, right, with those people.
But it is by far the more interesting.
No question, and more important.
Yeah, because it is important that you question why you're doing things.
Could you see his validity at all, or you just thought that
Well,
even if you disagreed with it?
it was more of a cultural thing. He was Polish,
Okay.
and so his understanding of the historical accuracy
Gotcha.
wasn't, well, he didn't have an understanding of it historical
Yeah.
accuracy.
Gotcha.
So, but when I explained to him, this is based very much
Yeah.
on the writings of the man.
So
who went
he was
through it.
thinking you took liberties in order to
That it was
make the movie.
exploitative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sure say yes.
And,
yeah,
But
that's a different story.
absolutely.
Yeah. But still,
So,
it's great that you heard him out and had that discussion, because it's important.
Well, it is important.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Cinema is many things. The basis of it, from the beginning, is pure entertainment. Over time, it has developed into art. It's developed into politics. It's developed through, even religions. So it covers a wide gamut of ideas and ideologies and emotions. And they're all equally valid. I've just done my first Marvel film. A lot of people ask me, why did I do a Marvel film?
I was going to say, when you told me that, it's just like, all right.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No, but after this conversation, I understand why.
more people will see, well, hopefully,
Yeah.
will see this film and get enjoyment from it
Yeah.
than all the other films I have made combined together. So
There's something there.
the cinema is entertainment.
Yeah.
In this day and age, escapism, to give people a moment of where their imaginations can open,
Yeah.
where they can disappear out of this world and into another world, where they're given a moment of hopefully little moments of joy and pleasure and laughter.
And they can just forget their
and
daily
excitement.
life or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Escapism. There's no
Then,
question about it.
That's as valid as the most.
I will tell you, you don't go on the internet much, but if after that movie comes out, you go on the internet, you will find people who hate that movie. so that's
I know
something to
already.
look forward
That's
to.
why I don't go on the internet.
No, that's exactly right. That's a very good idea. But you told me something about the other reason that you took that movie, which was the person who directed it and how you met that
Absolutely.
person. Well, can
Yeah.
you share that? Because I think that's actually a really important
Well,
lesson.
this is, it's directed by Nia DaCosta, who I think is one of the most exciting and talented young directors to come out of America for a long time. And, it's when I was approached to do the Marvels, initially, her name was never mentioned. And I was to have this, a Skype call with these executives and this, that, and the other. And I think probably her name was on the list, but, at the time I was still quite COVIDed up.
Yeah.
And a lot of things just slipped over my mind. And as on the Skype call as it came up, I recognized her.
Yeah.
And before they asked any questions, I knew I wanted to do that film. That this was the film I should do next.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that several years beforehand, whilst working on a HBO pilot with Steve McQueen, we were in New York, and every morning I'd be picked up by a PA who would drive me to the set, and we would talk. And she was just filming up at film school, or finishing up at film school, and she had an idea for a film. She was going to shoot a scene of it. She was already cast. It was ready to go. She had written it herself, and she was going to use that to raise the money to make the film. And just about every film student who's just coming out of film school has exactly that same story.
Exactly, that's it.
And we had wonderful discussions on the way to the set every morning. And I don't know if she took me home or not. I can never remember getting home on those. But she really impressed me. And I really enjoyed her company and her ideas. And she went out and did it. And it's a great film. And a very mature, very sophisticated, very well written. And so when I saw that it was Nia who was going to direct, it was boom. Yes, I want to do this film.
So the woman who's directing this Marvel movie, which is what, a $300 million budget or whatever, is more than that. Okay, doesn't make a difference at that point. Was the PA who drove you to and from set?
Yeah,
which I think is. I mean, we talk about this all the time. You never know where your next job is going to come from, or who you're going to work with, or whose path. And the reason I wanted you to mention that was, of all the instances I've been involved with, or I've heard, that's probably like the largest jump. But she apparently earned it, and
she did.
You said did a great job on the movie as well.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
And also, she's just a great person.
That's great. And
has a lovely calmness to her.
Yeah.
But a backbone of steel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be honest, I would not have done it if it hadn't been her. And I thought I'd blown the interview as well, because they asked me if I watched Marvel films, if I was a fan.
Oh, you weren't truthful with them, were you? Oh, dear. Maybe
no,
that's why they liked you.
I told them that, I'd seen most of them, but I generally would only watch them on international flights when I was really drunk. and things were a bit quiet there for a second. And it might have been Nia who then chirped in and changed the subject and saved me.
So, that's fantastic. So I'm going to ask you a question that I don't know if you're going to want to answer or not, but I've worked with you several times, and from this interview and from working with you, I know that everything comes down to story for you. It's not what I think of when I think of Marvel movies. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. There's no question, and maybe this was one of them. I'm not sure, but going into it, was that a concern of yours? Because if it's not about story, then I would think you I don't know, it'd be tougher to do.
No, it's a concern for every interview I have.
Yeah.
And reading the script, is always a big thing.
Yeah.
For me, if I don't like the script, and I can't see how the script would change dramatically, then I'm unlikely to do the film.
And what are you looking for?
I'm looking for an emotional reaction from myself.
Gotcha.
When I read the script, I don't think anything about shots.
Yeah.
I don't think anything about locations or logistics.
Really, and you don't see any of it?
I purposely don't see anything.
You just read a book, basically.
I just read it and see where it engages me, whether it moves me. Do I laugh? Do I cry? Is there something in there that touches me as a person.
Well, if you look at your IMDb list, like what I mentioned in other things, that tracks.
Yeah.
These are not sort of like, feel good comedies and whatever. I mean,
I've done a couple of those.
Yeah.
you
But
know.
they get in. But
they have a
for the
place
most
as well.
part, they're pretty heavy films. A lot of a lot of biographical stuff.
No, because that's the world I come from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
News and documentaries.
Yeah.
Documentaries in particular, that you have very complex stories. The best of the documentaries are based around human nature.
Yeah.
And human events.
Sure.
And real people. And those are the things that intrigue me. Human nature is fascinating, and it is endless. I say that we all do the same things in the same way, but not quite.
Yeah.
And it's in those little changes of individuals and the way things have happened to them, how they respond to those things, that we find hope, we find joy, we find sadness and horror. And, and you might find all of those things in one character.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. That's what touches people. And that's what excites me as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, being part of that. And and to sort of just to jump back into the whole documentary news thing, that gave me the training to be able to move when I was offered the opportunity to move into drama, to have basic skills. I was not ready. I thought I was ready, but I had the skills and sort of the motor functions.
Yeah.
I could do things and very quickly do them, and very quickly walk onto a set and see how it's going to work, and particularly in relation to the story.
Yeah.
Because that's what you have to do in real time.
No question.
When you're in the documentary world.
Yeah.
So that was a huge leg up.
Well, that's why I said earlier, jokingly, but really not, working on narrative must have been easy on some levels.
Well, it is, but it has its own challenges.
Of course, yeah.
But it also, because it had only ever been me and a sound man, operating for me is completely transparent.
What do you mean by that?
I have had a camera on my shoulder or on a tripod in front of me by the time I got to feature films for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I didn't think.
I see.
I would automatically see a frame.
Yep.
I would automatically be composing shots and sequences.
Mm-hmm.
I would automatically be looking at the lighting and immediately assess the lighting in the room and figure out what position was going to be best for me in relation to where the action was happening.
So it's just natural, basically. It's not even, you don't
everything
even
became
put...
natural. So, so the operating side of it for me, is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Because the creation of that sequence and those individual shots is totally dependent upon the position of the camera and the lens.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's a seamless thing that all works together.
Yeah.
And I can't do it any other way.
Yeah.
I've worked with operators. I've worked with really good operators and enjoyed their company and learnt a lot from watching how they actually operate.
I should mention for anybody listening who doesn't know, because I was assuming Sean operates his own camera on when he shoots all the time, more or less, I guess. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's why I get relegated to B camera. And I remember saying to you at one point, I'm going to get you off A camera, and you were like, no, you're not. And then I realized that's never going to happen. But I enjoy operating B camera and stuff with you, so and I learn a lot. But so you don't? Do you think you could even do it? You think you could sit back?
Done it.
You have?
I have.
Does it drive you nuts?
I got bored.
I can't see you sitting back in a tent and.
No, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I tried it on one job.
Yeah.
Because the director specifically wanted to work with this operator.
Yeah.
And I was just bored.
Yeah.
I became completely disengaged.
Yeah.
Because when you're operating, there is nothing else there but the image.
Yep.
And every fiber in your body is focused. And even your stance, the way you're preparing to move,
Yeah.
the way you're shifting your weight, the way you're holding your body. Everything, every muscle in your body is focused on that shot.
Yep.
And you respond immediately to anything that changes in that shot. And you are anticipating the whole time what might change. Because even, a lot of the directors I've worked with, there's a script, but, at the beginning of the day, everyone's kicked out of the room. The director has the actors. Actors are the most wonderful thing in the world. They are the most amazing thing in the world. They are also the biggest enigma that I've ever come across in my life, because they bring stuff, and this is why I failed acting, because I couldn't do it. They bring stuff that you could never imagine.
True.
Into their character. And so, although I've read the script, I have lit the room. I have an idea. I have discussed the shots with the director beforehand, or the possible shots depending upon the performance. I don't know what's going to happen till the director invites me in to watch a rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most exciting time, because everything then comes together at that point. And you have to be prepared to throw everything out and start again, because what the actors are doing trumps anything I will ever do. They are the story.
So when you go into that room and see the scene put up for the first time, do you go back to the same thing that you were talking about with the script, where you don't for a moment think about shots and this and that? You just look for the emotion and see what's happening, or are you immediately, because you're on the clock, obviously.
It's
you're
in real
immediately
time.
breaking down. Are we going to? Are we? Yeah.
But breaking it down in relation to the emotion.
To what's coming out.
Because
yeah.
I have an understanding of what might happen.
Yep.
And I've had a lot of time. And this is the difference. I've actually pre-lit the location in relation to what we think might happen.
Yep.
So I know the emotional element. I've spoken to the director. We have discussed these things in great detail. And I know what the director wishes to get out of it, based upon the information that we have at the time when working on the script and the pre-production. But when the actors are there, and the director has had time with the actors, a scene can change so dramatically.
I've been with you when it's happened before.
And for the better. And
Yeah.
so you have to be prepared to throw everything away.
Yep.
And as quickly as is humanly possible, figure it out in real time if you can, so that at the end of the rehearsal, you can say to the director, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
So I will try to create the whole sequence as the rehearsal is going on, so that I can present to the director a complete scene.
So you're pulling from everything that you talked about when you were a news camera person, because you're
everything
basically seeing the scene in front of you.
Everything in my life.
Yeah. But at least this way you've had some thought about it beforehand.
Exactly.
But
and
even
the
though maybe
crucial
wrong.
thing is that pre-production period is with the time with the director.
Yep.
Because, your job as a DOP or as an operator is to fulfill the desires of the director. They mostly have been working with the script for years longer than you will ever have with them. You have, several months.
Yeah.
I've worked with one director who'd been on his script for 10 years.
Oh, jeez.
So, the good ones have ideas.
Yeah. And some of them are hard to break and change and whatever,
and
or
it's
realize.
To realize more.
Yeah.
Because it's not, this whole thing about conflict between the director and the DOP and the operator and this, that, and the other. That's just madness. Absolute madness.
It does happen, though.
I did it once.
It's madness, but it does happen.
No, I did it once on a TV show, and I thought, what a dick.
No,
It's just like,
completely.
why did you do that?
Yeah,
there's no point
100%.
to it.
Yeah.
But it is having that time. And, every director is unique. Some of them are incredibly visual, and it's very exciting to make those visuals a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are kind of visual, but not really. Not a lot, don't really care. They're more interested in performance.
Yep.
And some are performance only, and kind of just leave it, say, okay, yeah, that sounds great.
You
That
do
sounds
your
great.
part, I do my... Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's always got to be the collaboration.
Yeah.
And John Toll talks about this as well. The first part for me of any job is to figuring out what my role is.
Yeah. He
for
did
the,
say that.
for the director that I'm working with.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and making sure that I'm right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm doing the right thing.
You're doing the right thing for the director and for the project.
And for the project.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, but it's, to me, I work very hard on the pre-production.
Yeah.
I try to get as much information as I can, become as knowledgeable about the story as I can, as knowledgeable about the director's ideas related to the story,
Yep.
as knowledgeable as I can on the set design, on, you know, on every aspect of the film. I need to know.
Yeah.
So that I can start to synthesize and start to present to the director ideas about how we approach the making of this film.
Yeah.
And get that broad overreach of an idea, and then start to pick it apart into specific moments.
It's funny that you say pick it apart, because I get asked a lot when if I teach a class or something like that. People ask me about working with different people, and you're one of the people that they ask, you and Steve McQueen, because we've done a bunch of things together. And I have some things to say about Steve, but I obviously have more to say than about you. But one of the things that I tell them is like, and I always think of that in Widows, there was the basketball sequence, and it was going to be one shot and da-da-da. And I always tell them that when we do those things, after we do the first take, assuming the first take works, there's usually a little bit of a like, yeah, it works, and that's a positive thing. And then the only other thing that's really said between the two of us are and I don't mean this in a bad way, but negative things of like, this can be better, that can be better, that can be better, because it is just picking it apart to make it better. And it's understood that it works, so we've already said that, so we can check that off the list. And now, how do you make it better? And I always sort of appreciate that, because it is sort of like, yeah, I mean, if you go and you dock every time and you pat each other on the back, then it's not there's not you're not going anywhere.
And that's why I say you have to be critical about everything you do.
Absolutely, yeah,
because it can always be better.
It can always be better. And generally, how often do you do shots, when you're done with it, where you go, it's not going to get any. I mean, I don't know about you, but like when I go home at night, I'm often thinking like, oh, you know what? I should have, like when I came around that corner, I should have.
No, there's always that, and for months after the film is done.
Yeah, and then when it comes out.
And, well, it's even worse. I can't bear to watch it.
Do you watch the stuff that you've shot?
Well, yes, I have to.
Does it frustrate you? Well, you have to grade it and whatnot. But
I have to grade it, but also I try to look at rushes as well, because you have to. Yeah. You have to constantly assess technically how things are going, especially these days when you have lookup tables and this, that, and the other. You need to ensure that the image is working in the way in which you would wish it to be working, and the way in which the director will be happy it's working, and the way that the producers will not freak out and wake you up at 3 a.m.
Okay. And that exactly right there is why I will never be a director of photography, because I go home and I know you go home and you've got 12 things to do. But that's the way that is. Well, I try to ensure that it doesn't happen. Yeah, of course. By doing that is by keeping on top of the process. And we have developed some really great workflows that particularly on Judas and the Black Messiah, where we were actually grading. I would grade at the end of every day. Wow. But I had such a remarkable Dit, who is a colorist himself and a color science genius. Oh wow! And so you had much less that you had to give him to get it where it needed to go. I would sit there and watch it and say a bit of this, a bit of that. But what it meant was that when they were editing, they had a coherent looking film. Sure. Yeah. And so they didn't fall in love with that horribly overexposed green. And then everybody gets upset when you actually make it look right. Exactly, when you come to change it. We call it temporary love. Yeah. And you have to do everything you can to possibly avoid that. So it's a lot easier now. You know, in the old days where I had no say on the rushes, they would go off to a lab. They would do it. It would be 3 days later, and I'd get the phone call because they would see it before I saw it. Absolutely. So it's kind of one of the tricks of the trade. Yeah. Is to ensure that your rushes are good. In fact, that was one of the first things I ever learned. Nigel Wheeler, God rest his soul, sadly has passed on, was the cameraman that I first started working with. On those first few days, or for first year actually, until I was fired. And he was the only natural-born cinematographer I've ever met in my life. What do you mean by that? He had no training. Oh,
but he just knew what to do.
wow.
And he had learned. He'd been doing it for a couple of weeks longer than me at the time. But he just knew that the rushes had to be good.
Yeah.
Do not turn the camera on till you have a good shot.
Till you have a good shot, because they're going to see it and wonder why are you showing
What are
this?
you
Why are you
doing?
sending this? Yeah.
And it was that discipline
Yeah.
as well, which it was like a key thing
Yep.
that always stuck with me.
Wow.
And so I always ensured that, there wasn't any rubbish
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
That it was a shot followed by a shot followed by a shot, and the shot had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Oh, I love that you just said that, because so few people talk about that. I've talked to people about that, and it's funny because some people will go, well, what if it's the shot that doesn't have it has a beginning and an end? And I'm like, well, truthfully, there are some shots that are like that.
Yeah.
I said, but figure out if there is a middle, because at the very least that will test you to make sure that the shot works. It may not. I mean, it may be such
Yeah.
a short shot or whatever. Who knows?
But even if it has a beginning and middle, it naturally has, or a beginning and an end.
there's
it
something
naturally
in
has
the
a
middle. But and you find
But
out
if
what
you
that is.
can
Yeah.
do something with it.
But
then
if you
do
think
something
about
with
that,
it.
and
Yeah.
that's the other thing is, and it may be perfectly fine the way it is, but maybe you'll find what that middle is and tweak it that way, and now it's a better shot, and
Yeah.
it tells the story better.
Well, and also don't be afraid to do a shot again.
Yeah.
If you see a better shot that supersedes that shot, do the better shot.
Says the DP operator.
But clean rushes.
Yes,
Always
exactly.
think about your clean rushes.
I want to ask you about the opening shot of what is it? The place behind the pines.
Beyond the pines.
Beyond the pines. Did I say behind? Beyond.
You
Beyond.
did.
Sorry. Well, there you go. It's a pretty big shot. So this shot starts. It starts what on? Does it start on a knife? Night. It starts.
on a
He's
knife.
playing with a knife or something like
He's
that,
playing
right?
with a knife inside a little
Like a caravan.
Caravan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we follow him playing with the knife. He stabs it, and then he turns and grabs his coat and walks out of the caravan.
Yeah.
And we follow him through a fair.
Quite a bit of ways. Yeah.
A long way through the fair.
Yeah.
And into this big, brightly lit tent.
Yep.
And through the tent, and there's a big crowd there, and they're all screaming and shouting. And he carries on walking and gets onto a motorcycle.
Yep.
And there are two other guys on motorcycles there. The other two guys leave first, and then he follows. And I follow him on the motorcycle into and
How do you describe it? A big metal circle thing. I don't know. A big metal
the
round
wheel-
cage, I
it was
guess.
the cage of death or
Yeah,
something
or
like
something.
that. Its name is actually very, very well indicative
Of what might
was,
happen.
Of what might
Yeah,
happen.
and
in
the
there.
motorcycles are basically doing revolutions around the thing,
inside the
upside
circle.
down.
And
It's
I'm
crazy.
standing in the middle
Yeah.
as the motorcycles go round and round and round.
So was this sort of in the script, or was this something you guys came up
well,
with? Or?
it was interesting because you know how I say I don't visualize things when I read the script.
Yeah.
When I read this, I knew immediately
So
it was
you
one shot.
lie completely.
I lied completely.
That's what I'm. So it wasn't written as all one scene. It was
no.
pieces or vignettes or something.
When myself and Derek Cianfrance, the director, were talking,
Yeah.
I said, I see this all as one shot from here to here.
Yeah.
And he just said, yes.
It's an incredible way to start that movie. I mean, because it's. I mean, the great thing is it's that close up of the knife, and is he opening it and closing it fast?
It's like a,
like a not a switchblade, but a
it's
anyway,
a gravity
but
knife or something
yeah.
like that. So he's flicking it.
He's flicking it around, and
Yeah.
it's fascinating. And I mean, and again, talk about a shot. Well, that shot has like a beginning, a middle, a second middle, a third middle, a fourth middle. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it just goes from one to the other. But what was it that you saw? I mean, when you read it,
I just saw just the whole scene.
yeah.
And
it sets that world so well.
It sets the world.
Yeah.
Things are introduced one after the other.
Yeah. Yep.
And it also sets a statement about what this film is.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
film is going to be different.
Yes.
This is something else.
Yeah.
Sit back, relax, but this isn't going to be, a wide close-up mid-shot
Yep.
coverage.
Yep.
This is going to be something else.
And just because I have to ask you, because I never had, so when you walked in the middle of that thing and the motorcycles are going all around, do you basically just go, I've got this is out of my control. I know these people are doing what they're doing. And the other question is, so I never thought about this. He's not one of the riders. There must be a trade-off. Okay?
There's a Texas switch.
There must be. I mean, it's more than a Texas switch because, but those things are going all around, and you just basically go, I trust these people, and
Absolutely.
It's going to be fine.
We rehearsed for almost a whole day.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Bit by bit, and started with coming in with one motorcycle.
Yep.
We found it was a little 1 foot square place
Where you wouldn't be hit.
where I was safe. Now, these guys were the best in the world.
I must have.
They'd been doing it, the lead.
They're the best in the world. There are only 6 people in the world who do this. These are 3 of the good ones.
Sadly, one of them died soon afterwards. So there are fewer. But they had been doing it for 30 years,
yeah.
the guy
So
leading them.
These are stunt guys, essentially. I mean,
they were actually circus people.
No, but I'm saying,
but they were stunt guys.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes.
And so I was, they knew exactly where I could stand.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit there that I could see as I was coming in to get me into position.
Stand. And they probably knew enough to abort if you weren't in the right place, I would assume, too.
Well, and they'd done this many times with people in the cage with them. So and they had never had an accident.
The reason, other than this being a great shot, and I want people to see it, it's a great movie, too, and looks beautiful, and it upset me, and this movie angered me.
Good.
I didn't mean to say it looks beautiful. It looks horrible. But no, as an operator, and this is handheld I don't know if we mentioned that. What do you do in those situations to push the natural, fight or flight thing away?
You just
trust and go, I'm going to you just force yourself.
You rehearse. You rehearse. You start with one motorcycle, you go to 2 motorcycles, you go to 3 motorcycles.
But even though on the day, is it just the adrenaline that takes over?
Well, you try to suppress the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And it becomes technical.
Yeah.
You know you have to be here for this beat.
Yep.
And I count steps. And my memory is shit, so I'd forget by step 10 what I'm supposed to be doing.
But it was step 10, you just wouldn't know what you were going to do.
Exactly. Yeah. I know I'm still stepping, so that's the important thing. But you memorize the frame.
Yeah.
And where you are and where the actors are. So, and the beauty about handheld is that you have infinite ability to adjust.
Yes.
I can speed up, I can slow down, I can move
Absolutely.
left, I can move right. I can do all those things because as we were shooting it for real that night, those aren't extras. There are no extras in that crowd. Those are the real people. This is a proper county fair.
Oh, but it was there for your purposes, or you were shooting in an actual fair?
We were shooting it in an actual county fair. We didn't have the budget to do any of that.
Wow.
We had our own tent off to the side.
Sure.
That had extras in it.
Yeah.
But the whole move through
is real.
Those are real people.
That. Wow.
And we only did it 3 times. Because the first time, this is Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
But what was great is that his character.
Oh, because people are going to see him and react.
And they
Gotcha.
At him,
yeah,
and it's like, but they're looking at the character.
Because they're looking at the guy going into the motorcycle
exactly.
cage. I understood. Yeah.
Because he's like this. He's a big deal.
He's a mythical figure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter. That people were.
But by the time you've done the 4th one, it probably is. Oh, I'm going to go get his autograph or whatever.
Also on the 3rd one or 2nd one, a motorcycle stalled, fell on my head, and knocked me out.
Oh my God! A motorcycle what?
It stalled.
Oh, stalled.
Above me.
The motorcycle hit you.
The motorcycle hit me.
With a person on it, I'm assuming.
I have no recollection of whether it was a whole motorcycle or a person.
So take 3 didn't work.
Well, no, I sat down for a little while. I had a helmet. I had all this body armor on and everything else. I was concussed for the briefest period.
Yeah.
I was actually falling forward when I came to. And
you stood back up.
Because there were still 2 motorcycles going around.
Oh, my gosh.
So those guys had to figure out how to get down. And in fact, the guy who fell from the ceiling, he grabbed me and stood me
on the
motorcycle, on the fallen motorcycle.
Wow.
So that the other guys
wouldn't
have
hit you
a bit more space and they wouldn't hit me.
Because they can't stop. They can just pull over to the side.
and so I got out of the cage and I sat down and took a breath.
Yeah.
And they said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, I'm concussed.
Yeah.
But I'll be fine. Let's go again." And they were like,
Take 2 was good.
No.
That's
so
incredible.
we did another couple of takes, but I just didn't. They wouldn't allow me to go back into the cage, and I was really angry at that.
Fit, yeah, I'm sure, but maybe it might have been the smart thing to do at that
we
point.
filmed till about 3 a.m. And when we wrapped, I said to the producer, "Okay, I need to go to the hospital now." And they said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, a motorcycle fell on my head and concussed me."
Did you see back there?
And I'm still concussed.
Oh boy! Wow,
But
that's crazy.
it is crazy, but it was worth it.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
it's worth it because you walked away from it.
Yeah.
And you're still here. But yeah, no, I got you.
But also just to, but the reality is, to be absolutely honest,
Yeah.
Once I got into the cage, I was too close to the action. And you couldn't actually see anything.
Yeah.
It just became flashes of bikes
sure.
going by.
That makes sense.
which
And that's
made
what
it
the
into
shot
the
is,
film.
actually. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it actually...
So you can sort of hide in that and not, and I get, I mean, it's funny because it's really the same thing as shooting something where you're laughing and where you want to laugh because it's so funny. And what I end up doing anyway is I end up very, very carefully studying parts of the frame, like the plant in the back, or something. Yeah. But it's the same kind of thing, is where you mentally go, I have to take everything to some other place.
Absolutely.
Because it's not going to work if I think about this.
A lot of it is a, it's a physical and intellectual exercise. And the frame is everything. That's all that exists.
Yep.
And that's so important when operating.
Yep.
That you are absolutely scanning the frame the whole time. And that's what I'm doing. I'm looking... God, how do I look? I don't know. I just look at it. But looking at the corners and looking at the top tend to be the most important things.
Yep.
Because the headroom is really the key.
Yeah.
If you can nail the headroom, particularly on handheld,
yep.
and then keep glancing at the edges for compositional elements and anticipating movement of the character from one side of the frame to the other, but always holding that headroom, then you will have a successful shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
But you are, I am so engaged with what is happening.
Yeah.
And my body is and my brain are constantly, subconsciously, working on geography.
Yeah.
And my position and where I should be, and also reminding me, there's a table on your left.
Yeah, there's a chair, there's a pothole,
Yep. You've got
there's a
2
motorcycle.
more steps. There's a motorcycle falling on your head, duck.
Yeah.
But it's, but you only develop that level of awareness through practice.
Yeah. It's actually, I should mention to anybody listening who hasn't seen it, if you go to theop.io and go to the library, there's an unbelievable talk that you gave for Ari, maybe Camera Image?
Camera Image, yeah.
I think that's a video. And you talk about your concept behind handhelds, about the triangle of the 3 positions, the 3 the 3 points of contact, and it's like a master class in maybe be called master class, I don't know, in handheld. It's really fantastic.
But and I have to always give the proviso that that's the way I do it.
Absolutely. No.
And a lot of other people have found even more successful ways of doing it than I have.
At the end of the day, if it works and it tells the story well on screen, that's the way you need to do it.
Exactly. And
exactly
even
right.
bad handheld, if operated with passion, can actually work an awful lot better than really good solid handheld.
There's no question. And also it's that thing of, if you understand the story that you're telling, that's more compelling than anything else.
That is the key to everything.
Yeah.
From my point of view,
yeah,
is that if you're not in some way moving the story forward, then you are wasting time.
Yeah.
And sometimes moving the story forward is by doing nothing.
Yeah.
So it's, and people ask me, well, how do I become a handheld cameraman? And it's really simple. You put a camera on your shoulder and you leave it there for 20 years.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And hopefully you stretch out every once in a while.
Well, stretch out and protect yourself.
Yeah, and have your knee pads. Actually, Sean has some of the 2 of the best ancient knee pads I've ever seen.
And I'm accumulating an awful lot of
gear.
Well, no, body fluids from
But-
very famous actors that
Oh,
I've
yes,
had to
yeah.
kneel in
There's
over
that.
the years.
That's true. Oh, there's that. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah,
I want to ask you about hunger,
yeah.
because I mean, hunger is just. I still think it's a phenomenal film. And the thing that I loved when I saw Hunger about was it's a film that nobody else could have made. I mean, they could have made Hunger, but they wouldn't have made that film. It's such a unique vision.
Yeah.
And was that your first full feature?
No, I had done my first full feature was very kind of, well, I say similar, but not at all. It was a film called Wonderland.
Oh, Wonderland was
yeah.
your first feature. Okay, yeah,
directed by Michael Winterbottom.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Who is a phenomenal director.
Yes, yeah.
And this was his Dogma film.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know what Dogma is, look it up.
Go look it up.
It's
Well,
rather
I'll link to it.
And
Lars von
Trier.
Trier. Yeah.
Was one of, there were several
Yeah.
people, but he was sort of the most successful
Yep.
of the Dogma directors of the early 80s.
Yeah.
But it was actually the perfect transitional film for me, because he wanted to shoot it in a documentary style.
Yep.
Which, when most people say that, it makes me slightly ill, because they've never done a documentary in their life and they have no idea what that means. Quite often when they say documentary style, they just want it really wobbly.
Yeah.
Which I refuse to do. Just so you know, all you directors and producers
Yes.
out there who
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
me
yeah,
to do
yeah.
a wobbly shot.
Yeah. Well, it's also that thing of like, well, let's do it handheld because it'll give it some energy, and it's
Yeah.
like, no, that's not how you give a scene energy. It's you give a scene energy by blocking it correctly
exactly,
and acting it correctly and
correctly.
Yeah.
It's not the camera that induces energy.
Yeah.
It's the actors. But that's the other thing that immediately sort of my eyes roll back in my head, and I have to be very polite and not do it. But it was the perfect film because it was ostensibly available light.
Yep.
Again, with real people. There were no extras, in real locations.
Yep.
And although it was loosely scripted, it was, a lot of the time, Michael would rehearse with the actors and wouldn't let anyone in,
Including you.
including me.
So it really was a documentary.
Well, we knew what could happen.
Yeah. But no.
But we didn't know how the actors where it had twisted.
Yeah.
And he did that on purpose because he wanted the camera to react as an audience.
Yeah.
To never get ahead of the narrative.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
And it is. And it was brilliant. I mean, it was such an exciting thing to do. And the poor focus puller, we're shooting, Super 16 in a 2:40 aspect
boy.
ratio, which was blown up to 35 mil.
Oh.
In fact, the week before we started filming, someone from here, Panavision, woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and because we were using Panavision gear, he said, "You're the guy who's shooting the Super 16 in 2:40." And I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "And you're going to blow it up to 35." And I, "Yeah." And he says, the grain's going to be the size of golf balls. And I was like, yeah. And he said, okay, just check it.
Well, it was nice of him.
Well, yeah.
What you were saying made me think of. Did you see the movie Joker with Joaquin Phoenix?
God, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's that great scene in he goes in the bathroom and he closes the door and it's sort of this lyrical. There's music playing, and so Jeff Haley was in here the other day. I was talking to him. He was the operator on it. He's a brilliant operator, and he said that scene they would not allow him into the rehearsals. And he actually was thinking like, "Oh, I've done something wrong." And the music that's playing in the scene was, by the way, that Joaquin comes in and hides a gun. And Jeff, and they said, "Okay, we're going to shoot." And Jeff said, "Well, what's going on?" And they said, "Well, just go in there and do something."
Yeah.
And the music was playing, and he said he didn't, because Jeff's also a very sort of like analytical, like figure it out. And he had, I think he had the easy rig. No, he had the class and harness thing, but the camera can hang down, so it's so he's sort of cradling it. And he said he's cradling it, and Joaquin comes in and slams the door, and he's looking at him, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And he said he looked down and he realized he was tapping his feet to the music, and so he just slowly tilted down to see that. And he said, and from then on, it was just everything just
falls
made
into place.
sense. And it was it's such an amazing scene. And to hear that it came out that way is so fantastic, because it's very much like what you're talking about.
And there is an honesty to that.
Yes.
And one of the greatest joys of operating is to be presented with the possibility of a scene like that,
Yes.
where you are just relying upon your instincts and reacting.
Yeah.
And, and that's, Steve McQueen, who we've mentioned before, is an absolutely crucial figure in my life,
Yeah.
a very good friend.
Yeah.
We've worked together for a long time. He creates scenes like that.
He does. I've watched you, both of you do it. It's been a thrill.
It is a wonderful, what a privilege.
Yeah.
When you're allowed to do stuff like that, and you get paid.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you're paying for this.
and
Well,
and that's why I cannot give operating up,
Yeah.
because I've been doing it for so long that it's like I think I mentioned earlier, it's transparent.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think about it.
It just happens.
It happens, but whilst it's happening, I'm 3 scenes ahead.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm thinking of something else.
No,
and
no,
quite
absolutely.
often, it is, again, it's that muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's just responding to this, that, and the other. And quite often, you're just trying to keep them in frame.
Yeah. but everybody else is going, he's a genius, and you're thinking, I'm just trying to keep him in frame. But that's
Don't fall over.
the key.
Don't
We don't
fall
want to
over.
tell
Keep
that.
him in
I'll cut
frame.
this part out. But I told you about. After you called to meet me for Shame, what I told my agent at the time, right? Did I ever tell you this?
No, you never told me that.
So I had an agent at the time. I was in New York, and I had just moved to New York, and I was working on Law & Order SVU. I was day playing there or something. And he called and said, Sean Bobbitt is doing a movie with Steve McQueen, and I think he might have said his name wrong or something like that. And he said, I think he said, he wants to meet you, and they don't have a lot of money or something, agent stuff. And I said, take it. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, take it. And he goes, but you don't even know how, they don't have, I said, I don't care. I said, I don't care. And I said, these are the guys who made Hunger. And he said, what? And I remember thinking, all right, this is not going to, we're not going to be together very long.
Yeah.
So I explained what it was. And I said, listen, here's the thing. And I say this to you with all, hopefully they're okay hearing this. I said, if they want me to do it, I want to do it. And the reason is because this is being able to work with Martin Scorsese when he does Taxi Driver. Like, you know what I mean? These are two people who made a movie that is so incredible that I want to be a part of the next movie, and I don't care about anything else. And then you came out to Law & Order, and I remember we met, and it was very nice meeting you, and it was very odd because it was like I'm meeting these people who are really auteurs on the set of a TV show for NBC or ABC or whatever Law & Order's on. And that was an amazing experience. I mean, that was an incredible experience.
It's funny because we never, particularly at that time, we didn't consider ourselves auteurs.
I'm sure you didn't,
but
but you were.
we were just given these opportunities.
Yeah. But going back to Hunger, I want to ask you about that because there are these great long shots in that movie. And granted, there's I think it's 16-minute shot of Bobby Sands and the priest, and it's just the camera.
It was 21 minutes and a half.
It's a good thing they shortened it out. But the camera is low. I think it's low, as I remember.
It's locked off.
And it's locked off, and it's two people sitting at a table talking, and it's riveting. And that's when I actually, that was the second moment where I thought that movie just blew me away. There were a number of them, but the first one I remember was there were these great moments of, it's the prison cells, and I think the guys have been throwing shit out in the middle at a protest, and they're hosing it down, and they're like squeegeeing the floor. But it's just this slow-moving shot that follows it, and it goes as long as it wants to go, like longer than any movie ever would. And it's so great because it just explains that entire situation, and I thought those were amazing.
Yeah, and for a first film, and it was Steve's first dramatic venture, it was amazing. You can see in it his art, though.
No question.
And that the idea that you can't do anything wrong. Yeah. If it feels right. And although Steve he's a remarkable cineast. He's seen every film.
Yes.
He understands every film, and he loves every film. at the same time, he is not hidebound by the traditional techniques of filmmaking.
I have to do it this way. I have to do it that way because this
you
is the way
need
it's
a wide
done.
shot. You need a medium shot. You need a close up. You need to cut. You need to do coverage. All the blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
No, that's of no interest.
Yeah.
The interest is looking around that and seeing what's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that you want to explore, that you want to see. And you're not imposing everything upon that scene. That scene is left to grow and build itself
Yeah.
and be itself.
Yeah.
So it's, and what a fantastic privilege to be able to work with someone like that.
No question. Like every time I've worked with you, both of you, it's this. Well, because the thing is, it's and I don't mean to sound so whatever, but it's honest because it's not trying to make a movie that's going to win an award or try to make a blockbuster or try to impress someone or whatever. It's just trying to be honest to the material and elevate it, whatever it is, just to elevate it to another level, and there's no pretense to it.
No. And Steve's Bullshit Radar is the finest tune in the world. And he sees right through the artifice of things.
Yeah.
I can remember on Widows, I can't remember the exact scene, but I had gotten this very complicated shot all organized and this, that, and the other. And Steve watched a rehearsal of it. And it was just like, why? He says, why don't you just pan? And I was like, oh yeah, you're right.
God.
There is a time and a place for these complex long shots.
Yeah.
And it has to have an emotional
And he's done them,
reason.
and you've done them for him, right?
But it's so interesting because so much is informed by his art.
Yes.
And then this idea of a long, continuous shot was based upon one of his art installations.
Oh.
It was just a photograph from above and behind a man with this huge scar across the back of his skull and a bald head.
Uh-huh.
And it would always be in a small cinema, the only place he would project it, on a screen.
Yeah.
Not a big screen, so it's just this long, thin photograph. Then you see his shoulders, and it's in black and white. And that's all you see. And as you sit there, slowly this voice comes up, and it starts telling a story.
Huh.
And the story is a true story about I think it was his cousin, who accidentally shot dead his brother.
Oh, jeez.
And as he's telling the story, you start taking this in, but there is nothing else for you to look at but that image.
Yeah.
And you start to project onto that image. You would swear that there's a slow zoom in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you would swear that, oh my God, that thing on his skull wasn't there a minute ago. Where did that come from? And also you're projecting the story onto that character.
I was just going to say, and you're sort of manufacturing the story the way your mind is
exactly. And everyone is doing it differently.
Differently, yeah.
So at the very end, when you realize what has happened, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
And I think, what was divined from that is that the longer you hold a frame or a sequence, the more the audience will be dragged into it. Because so long as you don't put an edit in, an edit automatically tells people subconsciously, this is a movie.
Yeah.
If you don't put an edit in, then they have no escape.
Well, and also the other thing that an edit does is it goes, and now you're going to think about this, as opposed to you're thinking about. I mean, the shot that I was privileged enough to do on that was what's his name? I can't think of the actor's name. Running across.
Fassbender.
Yeah, Fassbender running across the island of New York City, and
Yeah.
it's just. I mean, I think it's 2.5 minutes long, right? And it's.
Well, and Steve wanted him to run all the way to the river. And then up the river.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but the police said, "Fuck you."
That's not going to happen.
Three blocks.
We're only going to take
3 blocks.
Yeah, I think it was more than 3 blocks though. But regardless of which, it was. But you just fixate on it, and because there's not that much going on, even though there is a lot going on, it's you build that story into there. That was fascinating.
Yeah,
and it works so well.
And what comes before it?
Yes.
And what comes after it?
Exactly.
Everything is informed.
Yep.
And everything has a reason, and it's moving that character forward a little bit, and our understanding of him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
kind of the slow rising horror.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so to Hunger was that shot, that 16-minute shot, was that something that was planned?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, we had discussed it, and had very quickly decided that because Steve was, as he said to the producers, look, when I'm watching two people talking, I don't get up and walk around the room and look at them from different angles.
Unless I'm a director in a rehearsal.
Exactly.
Or a director of photography in a
Yeah.
rehearsal. Yeah.
And he says that's not what people do.
Yeah.
These are two great actors.
Yep.
And
That's so great.
It's about the performance, and it was really interesting because Steve had never worked with actors before,
Yeah.
and so he was feeling his way, and
also weirdly doing it just naturally, right?
Completely.
Because there was no artifice. Because
Yeah.
it's not like he went to school for it or
No.
something like that.
but there was a problem because both Michael and the other actor weren't taking it very seriously, the rehearsals of this very long scene. So Steve called me in and said, Sean, explain to them how we're going to shoot this. and as I was explaining, it was going to be one locked off shot. You could see the two of them as
Oh.
it sort of clicking in their heads. Oh, okay, so we really need to know this, don't we?
Yeah.
Type thing. And what they did was they moved in together.
You mean they moved closer, you're saying?
No, they
they moved in together
to
like
the same house.
so that they could
They ran the scene
again and again
every
and again.
minute that they were free.
And that is why that scene works so
And
well.
that's exactly why that scene
Amazing.
is so brilliant.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I love the way that it came about. Actually, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So on the website, I do something called the breakdown, where operators, and it's sometimes actually love you to do something, show a shot and explain everything that went into it. And one of my favorite ones, Don Devine, who is a phenomenal operator, he's the operator on Barry and a bunch of other things. It's a locked off 2-shot of Bill Macy and Donald Sutherland at a bar. And you watch it, and it's, I don't know, it's a minute and a half or something, and they're having a discussion about a hitman and I forget what, but off the top of my head. But and then he comes back to explain it, and usually it's a big Steadicam shot and a crane shot and this and then the other, and he says, look, it's a locked off shot, and these are the best shots in the world because I just get to watch the play, and you get to watch the play. And one of the things that I love that he said, which is the same thing there, is and you get to decide the editing. Because Bill Macy leans back, and Bill Macy's leaning back, and you get to decide who to watch and who to think. And you have two great actors just destroying it. Why cut away?
Exactly.
Why tell the audience how to just show them it and let them watch? And it's one of my favorite ones because it is true, and it's very much the same thing in Hunger. It's riveting, and it in the same way that you were talking about the scar, which is why you brought it up. Is you sort of go through waves of
Well, you lose interest, and then something is said that
yeah.
pulls you back in.
Yeah.
And you drift out and in and
Yeah.
out, and and also 90% of people swear there's a slow zoom in.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And there's not. And that's the amazing thing. We project, if there's nothing else there,
Yeah.
we project our own ideas onto it.
Yeah.
But it also,
you fill the void.
Yeah, you fill the void,
Yeah.
but it means something more because
it's
there's
yours.
no distraction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
In terms of an audience.
And it's not
you're that free.
manufactured. You're manufacturing it yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's
And,
amazing.
That's the thing. Engaging an audience is the single most important thing at all.
Yeah.
Instead of leading them by the nose and telling them everything, make them work.
Make them work for it.
Yeah,
There's no question about it. It's
because
always better.
they will enjoy it an awful lot more.
What about the final sequence in that where he's I guess ascending to heaven, but it's sort of that floaty, it's the camera's kind of floating above him, and it's.
I mean there's a wonderful story with that,
Oh, is there?
because Steve had described it. It was as if it were a balloon bouncing off the walls in slow motion and around him.
Oh, it sort of does feel a little bit like that, actually.
And we actually tried balloons.
Like helium balloons.
Yes.
That probably
And
didn't
of
work
course
well.
It was what was it? It was
Like a mini weather balloon kind of thing, or
no, I'm thinking the camera was.
Oh. Was it 16 or 35?
It's 35.
Oh, okay.
But in
like
two perf. And so it was
like an Area 3 or something like that?
no,
or?
and sorry.
Don't worry about it.
But it was the lightweight handheld.
Yeah,
Larry,
okay, gotcha.
Which was still way too heavy for a balloon. We calculated that my grip was just like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this?
Oh, because the size of the balloon
The
you
balloon
need
had
for
to
the
be
room that
larger
you're in.
than the set.
You have to build a huge set. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And we came up with all these ideas of this incredible rig of across the top with gaff poles that rolled up and down and side to side and this, that, and the other. And finally, it was like, God, the only way we can do this is with a technocrane.
Uh-huh.
A little, 25 or
Yeah.
something like that.
But this is a fairly low budget movie.
We didn't have the money for it, and
Yeah.
there are no technocranes at that time in Northern Ireland.
Oh, even more so. Okay, yeah.
So, I talked to Steve about it, and he goes to the producers and said, well, we need a technocrane. And they were like, well, that's £1,500 just to get it here,
Just to transport.
just to transport it, and we don't have the money. So Steve said, well, I'll pay for it. And he did.
Because it was that important to
It
him.
was that important.
There you go.
So he paid for that. What they wouldn't pay for was the second grip to work it.
Not important.
Not important. They didn't think it was important. So what they
Good
did,
Lord.
and infuriatingly, but actually it all turned out good in the
Yeah,
end.
well,
But
whatever it is
each-
turned out well, so it doesn't mean...
But they got a trainee grip in Belfast,
Sure.
who actually wasn't even a trainee grip. He knew nothing. And so my key grip, it was very complicated because it starts here, and as he sits up, it goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's literally bouncing slowly around the room
Yep.
as he's sick and falling back down.
Yeah.
And we're looking for this floatiness. And so we started to block it out. Trainee grip had never done anything like it before in his life, and he couldn't remember the moves. And I was on, thank God, I was on a pan bar system
Oh, as opposed to wheels, yeah.
as
okay.
opposed to
Yeah,
wheels.
Yeah.
Because, so we went for a take, and I had no idea where it was going to go. Because this guy,
Because he'd be different every time.
It was different every time.
But that works for it probably,
and
right?
I can remember, doing 180s around
Yeah.
this thing at high speed and tilting it
Oh,
up and
yeah,
down.
sure.
just
And you're probably walking all the way
look at
around
my key grip, he's crying
Yeah.
because this is a disaster.
Yeah.
And after the first take, Steve stood up
I know.
and threw his headphones down. He said, "That's it. I'm going to lunch." That was amazing. And I was like,
I could totally see this. I totally
and
see this.
I said to Steve, that's actually the worst shot I've ever operated in my life. And he said, "You're wrong. It was brilliant. I'm going to lunch." I said, "Can we do it just one more time?" He was like, "No."
So that's the only take.
I think so, yeah.
Amazing.
And it was just, and literally, Steve Pugh, the key grip, was in tears. He thought his job was over. That was it. But what you end up with is something
brilliant. It's-
unique.
no.
And that was, is always the thing about working with Steve, is that you have to have a completely open mind.
Yes.
Because nothing is wrong.
Yep.
And if you try to be too didactic or too hidebound or too technical or, generally speaking, he sees through that.
Yeah.
And there's no truth there.
Yep.
You're actually trying to hide behind a technique or something else. And that's not what he's looking for.
Yeah.
He's looking for always a true, honest reaction.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I love about working with him, and that's exactly it right there in a nutshell.
And that has given me the freedom as an operator in every film I do
Yeah.
to look beyond and to try stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's, if I think it's right, it probably is right.
Yeah. Well, you trust your gut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, it was actually the first thing that I ever worked with Steve on, is an art installation piece called Western Deep. And it's shot down the deepest gold mine in the world. It's almost 2 miles underground.
In South Africa.
In South Africa.
Yeah.
On the gold reef there. And just to get that far down takes several hours.
Oh, that's it. I
lifts.
thought it would be more than that.
Boom,
Wow.
boom, boom. I think
And didn't you tell me it's like 90 degrees down there or something
even
like
hotter
that?
than that. Because you're actually close to the Earth's core.
Close to the Earth's core.
They have to air condition it or else you won't survive there.
So it's 90 degrees with the air
with
conditioning.
the air conditioning. It's
Good
not good air
Lord.
conditioning. I mean, this is really crude
Yeah.
South African air
Yeah,
conditioning.
okay.
But we had discussed this for months, what we were going to do there. And in the way that I thought the only way we could shoot it because of safety concerns
Yeah.
was on Super 8.
Okay.
Because, it's got a very small battery
Yeah.
and it's very reliable and you don't want sparks.
Oh, because of all the dust and whatnot.
And potential of
combustion.
of exploding
Yeah,
fumes.
yeah.
2 miles underground, it explodes.
That's not good.
You're not getting out of
No,
there.
no.
No one is.
Oh.
So we shot it on Super 8
Yeah.
film,
Mm-hmm.
500 Kodak 500, and we had special little things made up, the little cartridges.
Yeah.
And I filmed all the way down, and bits here and bits there. Again, thinking we don't have unlimited.
What are we going to need?
resources
What are
here.
we going to use? Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we need to get to the face.
And and he was involved in that?
Oh
or
yeah,
you-
no, he was there beside me. It was.
But yeah.
And we had a sound man as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And we got all the way down to the bottom, and I turned to him and said, "Okay, what do we do now?" And he just said, "I don't know. There's something here. Let's find it." And I almost smacked him. I thought, "My God, I've been to some of the most dangerous places in the world, and this is one of the most hostile environments you can possibly in.
Yeah.
That deep down, it's hot, it's humid. A lot of the ceiling is unsured, so it's falling down."
Oh.
And it was just like, for a minute, I was incandescent with anger. And then it was like just a slow little bliss. It was like, okay, what's here? And I started filming. And the first time in my life, the images that I was seeing and running on, they weren't part of a narrative.
Huh.
There was no story there. Because everything I'd done up to there, it'd been always, news, documentaries, small dramas.
You have to find it, but there's a story. There's some.
There's a story there, but it's not a story. That wasn't the point. The point was what was there.
Yeah.
And after a couple of minutes, I became euphoric.
Huh.
Because for the first time in my life, there was total freedom. It was absolutely, there was nothing didactic. You got to do this, you got to do that. This is important, that's important. It was what was there.
Yeah.
And Steve knew that. I didn't. But that privilege and that experience has informed everything I've ever done since then.
Interesting.
Because it is, nothing's wrong. Give it a go. With all the information I had, we had talked about the history of apartheid, history of mining, a million different things for months, and talked to people who were, it was just all this information, it was all there. And now you could ignore it, but it's still subconsciously informed.
Sure.
And so, everything that was of interest. And again, it was this, because we got down onto the face itself, which is only 1.5 feet high.
Oh.
And a 45-degree angle. And the rocks are falling down the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
And there's water everywhere. And the guys are there with these huge pneumatic drills with these enormous pipes.
Oh, that's right. It's deafening probably on top of it.
It's deafening. It's hot. It is terrifyingly dangerous. And I didn't realize it, but I am claustrophobic.
Not a good time to find
Not a
that
good time
out.
to find out. And had for 1 second there, it was like, I'm going to die. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, fuck off. Grow up. Just do your job.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And just got on with it.
Yeah.
But all that I could film was, again, and this brought me right back to the car bomb, was what was in the lights of the headlights of the miners' lamps.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I would find a position, anticipate where the light was going to sweep. And so most of it's darkness.
Oh, interesting.
I would highly recommend people to see it. It
Is
is
it-
the thing I'm proudest of all the things I've ever done.
And what's it called?
It's called Western Deep.
And can you see it online? I mean,
I don't think so.
Like, where can
I
you-
don't know.
how do you see it?
Well,
I'll
you have to
look.
go to a retrospective of Steve McQueen's
Yeah.
art. But I defy anyone to not be moved by it.
That's amazing.
How
How long is it?
I don't know.
Oh.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But his installations they're like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, when we were in Chicago, there was Redacted was playing in at the Chicago Art Institute. Actually, I made him laugh because Redacted is, I think, 19 and a half hours long or something like that. And do you remember who it's the trial? It's the trial transcript from, is it Huey Long? I can't remember who it is.
I can't remember.
Anyway, it's a trial transcript, and it's the words on the page, and then someone's reading it, and they're moving, but they're not synced up. So you're looking at something different, and it's being read, and then a lot of the stuff is redacted, which is where the title comes from. And it's 19 and a half hours long. So I saw him on a Monday, and I said, hey, I saw Redacted yesterday. He goes, oh, what'd you think? And I said, like the first hour was riveting, and 2 and 3 kind of lost me, but it picks up around 7, and then and as I was doing it, his eyes were going bigger and bigger. And afterwards, he goes, "You're kidding me?" I said, "No, I'm totally kidding you." I didn't sit and watch the whole thing. But of course, you're obviously not supposed. I mean, I don't know, supposed to, but he doesn't expect people to. But it's whatever the piece that you see.
Well, exactly.
And what
you take of it what you
take of it. Exactly,
No,
and that's part of the experience, which is interesting to me because then it was hearing these stories and seeing that. It was a window into how he makes films, because he makes films unlike anyone I've ever worked with before. Because, and I've said this before, and it sounds all highfalutin, but it's really not. He's an artist who just happens to be working in film, and if he was working in paint or something like that, he'd do it the same way almost. But it's just this is his medium, as opposed to.
Well, I think he would say that he's actually a filmmaker who got into film through art.
Well, there you go. So there you go. But I've never worked with anybody who sort of has that process.
Yeah, it's unique. And for me, the possibility of actually partaking in a bona fide work of art. What are the chances of that? That's never going to happen.
And how amazing it is that he found you, who was willing to, because a lot of people couldn't go down that road. I mean, no, this is a film, and we have a budget, and we have this, and we have that, and we have to do things. We have to make our day, and we have
the compromise.
Which doesn't mean that you throw those things out, but it's not the first and foremost.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing.
Well, in fact, it was he watched Wonderland with his wife Bianca, and at the end of Wonderland, she said to him, "You should be working with that cinematographer."
Really?
Yeah. And so he tracked me down.
And so he called you out of the blue.
Yeah.
I love that. That's fantastic. Isn't Bianca also the person who founded a B&B at a bed and breakfast, like 12 Years a Slave, and read it and gave it to him and said this should be a movie?
Yeah.
She's got.
She's
there's something special
very
there.
Important.
That's
very
incredible.
Special. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we should probably get back to operating.
Yeah.
In some way or shape or form.
This is also fast. I mean, here's the thing: is like so much of this is applicable in weird ways, because that's the thing about this. Talking to people is there's not a lot about this that's about framing and composition, because, well, first of all, on a podcast, I tried that once and it didn't work very well. No, really, like this is a close-up. You just have to trust me. This is a close-up.
Just imagine.
But because that's 10% of what you do, right? As an operator,
it's where you begin. That's the beginning.
Yeah,
and that's why you really should do some photography.
Yeah,
and I have no training as an operator at all.
Well, you have no formal training, but clearly you were trained on the job.
Well, the first time I was presented with a dolly, it was like, holy shit, what do I do now? But I loved it.
Yeah.
And I had a really good grip.
Yeah.
And, really good gaffers and these amazing people that you get to work with who help you and guide you in your early days.
Sure.
And, a lot of people, when they do, when they start working on jobs, they're afraid to get older people in. Afraid that the older people are just gonna sandbag them.
This is the way it's done.
This is the way it's done, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Nah, No, by working with those people, you will progress your skill level dramatically in a very short period of time.
Yep.
And it's really important that you learn from others, and what you're learning is not, you're learning how to actually do things,
Sure.
as opposed to the theory of how things are done. And it's that practical experience, which is why I always say to people who are just beginning, or students, that just shoot stuff. Go out and operate on stuff.
Yeah.
The more you possibly can do, the better you will become.
And nowadays, that's actually so much easier because, like I said, I mean, and it's not the ideal thing, but worst case scenario, you do have a phone where you can shoot stuff with that and frame things and look at it back, and then hopefully work on things with actual lenses, of course. I'm not saying that's the only way, but
and not to become too fixated with the technology.
No, exactly.
I mean, a camera is a box that light goes into, and the light is stored in some way.
Yeah.
Lenses are how the light gets into the box.
Yep.
And people obsess about the gear and the technology, and there's no point to that.
Yeah, well, I think you have to understand it in order to understand what's possible, but at the end of the day, you have to let it go and just tell a story.
Yeah, one camera is not going to tell a story better than another camera.
Yeah,
it's not the camera that does it; it is the people who operate the camera.
What about you working with assistants? And do you like it when assistants? I mean, do you give assistants the license to make decisions if they happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
The fascinating thing was that news documentaries, I did everything. I walked around the world with a tripod on one shoulder and a camera in the other hand.
Yeah.
And everything. I pulled my own focus, I set my own exposures, everything.
Yeah. It had to be.
So, and that's the way it's done.
Yeah.
So again, you learn an awful lot. But when I was actually on Wonderland, presented with a proper crew, a focus puller and a loader, it was like, oh, what do I do with these people? and luckily I had two of the best, and to this day, they're still very, very good friends and very important friends.
Yeah.
Because Nick Lawson, the focus puller, was brilliant.
Yeah.
A lot of people, Super 16, we were on high-speed lenses in dark places, available light, handheld, without seeing a rehearsal.
Oh.
And he just was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And got on with it.
Yeah.
And Gordon Seagrove, the clapper loader, just that resource.
Yeah.
The logistics of everything. And it was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And after the first day, it was like, this is really, really nice.
Yeah.
These, we are a team.
Yeah.
And it is that collaboration from everyone involved. And I believe everyone has a right to have an idea and to put their idea forward.
Yep.
And I'll, if it's a really good one, I'll take it and say it's my own.
That's what the DP does.
That's what a DP does. That's what I learned very quickly.
Yeah.
But no, I filmmaking is collaboration and communications. Someone has a good idea. Brilliant. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Because it's a good idea. If it's not a good idea, then instead of saying, oh, no, that's an awful idea, it's like, I like that, but I don't think it's appropriate for what we're doing right now. But if you have another idea, let me know. Because people think that you're a DOP or you're a director, that you're sort of this monolith.
Yeah.
That knows everything.
Yeah.
And has got everything in their head, and they're these mad geniuses, and it's not. We just stumble through it every day and do the best we can.
But I like what you said there about the fact that I think that's really important, especially for newer operators who come in who don't have as much experience, and maybe they're working with a dolly grip or a focus puller who have much more experience. There's that weird thing of I kind of have to drive the bus here a little bit, but you also know more than I do, and you know that you know more than I do, and I know that you more. So I think there is that thing of if it's not what's working for you, but saying, it's a great idea. It just isn't what right now, but please continue because I need this help. And
Yeah.
and there's that weird balance that has to happen. I think of
The first week of any film,
yeah,
particularly if you're working with a new crew,
yeah,
and I've had the great privilege of working all over the world. They don't always let me, and they actually these days rarely let you take a crew with you.
yeah,
So you have a local crew that you have to assess very quickly.
How do you do that?
Sometimes very badly, sometimes very well.
I didn't ask you if you did it well or poorly. How do you do that? But do you have any tips for how to do that?
I mean, the thing is to talk to people
Yeah,
and then watch them. I mean, not in a sort of odd kind of scary way, but just be very attentive to how people are working
and look at their
how
choices,
they're
right?
interacting
Yeah.
with each other. That prep period is really crucial. I try to spend as much time as I can in the prep room with the crew
Yeah,
so that you can start to develop a rapport.
yeah,
The hardest thing of all is to create trust and respect over a very short period of time. And that's what you have to do.
yep,
And there are really simple ways right off the bat to get people on your side. And one of them is at the beginning of every day, walk up to every single person, say good morning, and shake their hand. And at the end of every day, walk up to them, say thank you, and shake their hand. And that simple courtesy can engender an awful lot of respect and also loyalty. And it's a simple thing to do. You have to do it with honesty and not thinking, oh, this is a clever way of exploiting these people. Because, that people are going to read through that right
but
away.
that's true. That's absolutely
But
true.
it's such a simple thing to do, and it sets a tone for the crew.
That you respect them.
That you respect them,
Yeah.
but also that this is we're not all chummy here. This is not a frat house. This is serious stuff, and is to be treated seriously. And yes, we're going to have fun, but we've got to do the job first. So as you're watching and assessing, you're looking for people who are collaborating with each other, people who are calm and appearing to be knowledgeable, and just slowly talk to people like a human being. Get to know them, and it's very important that you do talk to everyone and sort of figure out where they're from, what they want, where they're going, what they've done, and are they honest? Or are they making it up? And quite often, it's a tricky thing, and I've been incredibly lucky that I've not had to fire that many people over the years, because that's really a last resort. You don't want to do that to someone. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. You get a bad egg in a crew, and then suddenly the whole dynamic changes. And there's a toxic element that's in there that just grows. And I don't make films to be unhappy and to have a bad time. I make films because I love making films, and I love making films with people who love making films. And it is that collaborative thing. If things are toxic in the crew, then you got to sort it out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just becomes misery for everyone.
Yeah. I've talked to people who are starting out before if they have a dolly grip who they're not working well with, because it does happen, especially with younger operators if they're newer and maybe they're making mistakes or whatever, and it's just sort of if you don't hit it head on, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
And you have to work it out, unfortunately.
And sometimes you have no choice.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of them because there's no one else there.
No.
And so you have to figure out how you work it. And being honest and talking to people, I have found is always the best way.
Yeah. If anything's going to work, that's going to work.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, try that first.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work,
then
you're not allowed to hit people anymore. So it's kind of,
that's out the window. Oh boy.
Yeah. But there's an awful lot to being an operator, to being a director of photography that is not taught in schools, and it's not taught in books. It's about interpersonal relationships and working relationships.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you show people respect, they will show you respect back. And it's the simplest thing to do, and it is incredibly efficient. And once you have people on your side, then, you know, the fun really begins. And if it's not fun, why are you doing it? You know, at the end of the day, we take it all very, very seriously, but we're making a movie. You know, in my mind, when I find myself getting really sucked into, sort of the madness of the minutiae of filmmaking and getting lost in that and losing perspective of the whole thing, I just stop and think and say, okay, no one's shooting at us. No one's going to die here. You know, why is this all so tense right now? Let's just calm it down, figure it out, and move on. And I was given some really, really good advice from Billy Williams.
Billy Williams.
Billy Williams. Oh, of course you don't. One of England's preeminent cinematographers.
I apologize. And I apologize to Billy Williams.
Oscar award-winning, On Golden Pond, Gandhi.
Okay.
An amazing man, an amazing teacher.
Yeah.
And one of those people who changed my life. Because I was sort of moving out of documentaries and was doing little bits of just stuff, and got fired off of my first TV job for reasons that were not my fault.
Okay.
There was a flood, honest gov, and we were late because everything was flooded and we couldn't get in. I'm not even going to tell you the story. It's pointless. The whole point
you got
of it
fired,
is,
nonetheless.
I got fired,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I was so despondent. I mean, just
How
bereft.
old were you at this point?
I was
In your 20s, I mean?
38.
Okay. Okay. So this is later. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. I did my first film when I was 40.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen
because
to that, everybody.
You had 20 some careers before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you're young, and say you're 23 and you haven't done your first feature film, don't worry.
Yeah.
You got the rest of your life. You know, you will be learning the whole time. When you finally get the chance to do that feature film, you might actually know what you're doing.
You'd be ready. Yeah. Yeah.
So if it's not going to happen tomorrow, if it does happen tomorrow, great. Good luck.
Yep.
You know, do the best you can. But if it's not happening, just keep going. Just keep shooting.
Yeah.
Keep operating. Keep doing what you want to do. And that's a really important thing is we all think we know what we want to do. I still think I want to be a writer-director.
I said it early on. Yeah.
But no, I don't. I know now that I would never have made a good writer-director. I do not have the discipline to do either of those skills. And I do not have the patience either to do either of those things.
But you wouldn't be here if you hadn't wanted to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, doors open for you. I've met it, and you walk through the door, you don't walk through the door. My advice would be to walk through every door that opens and just see what's on the other side. If you don't like it, walk back again. You know, it's not life or death. And doors opened for me and I went through them.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up doing the job I should be doing. And, you know, if you know you want to be in cinema, you want to make films, you think you know what you want to do, I'd say, you know, if you are absolutely set and you know what you want to do, then aim for that. Do not accept anything less. Work towards that goal. If you're not quite sure, just get into the industry and move about. It can be incredibly fluid, particularly in America, much less so or much more so than a lot of other countries. And their industries are much smaller, and so it becomes very difficult to change. But find out over time what it is that gives you joy, and believe it when your body tells you that, when your mind tells you that, oh, I really like this, then do that. You know, I think a lot of people get themselves very upset because they're like, I got to be a director. If I'm not a director, I've failed. And you do not want to be a director. You think you do, but you don't. You know, it takes a very, very special type of person. But if you are absolutely set on being a director, then don't become a grip. You know, do this, work to the skill, to build the skill you need to do the job that you want to do. If you don't know, then just come in and do stuff, and you'll find out. You know, I like this, I don't like that. You'll see things. No one can imagine what actually happens on a film set if they've never been on a film set. There are jobs, there are roles that are beyond your imagination. I mean, you think of the VFX and FXX, you know, and costume and hair and makeup and all these things that are as skilled and as difficult and as equally important as operating is. And they're just as fulfilling if that's what you want to do. So, you know, I'm a great believer in that the only thing you need to do is to just keep going. Do not give up. Do not become despondent. You know, just carry on. There will be good times and there will be bad times. I've had the most immense fluctuations in my career. You know, after I did Wonderland, the first film I ever did opened in the Cannes Film Festival to a 10-minute standing ovation. Now, what are the chances of that? I did not work for almost a year after that, because it takes that long for a film to go through the culture and for producers and directors to have a project that might be relevant for you. And I exacerbated it by saying I did get an agent out of that, which was very important, out of doing Wonderland. I said to them that I was not going to do another Wonderland because I did not want to be pigeonholed as that handheld, available light documentary cameraman. So I didn't work for a year, which was great. I did some really cool fishing and lots of other wonderful things.
That's great.
But, you know, don't worry. Just work. Just keep moving.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.